welcome everybody. This is Miss Starbuck coming to you from Beulah Ralph Elementary School. I'm the art teacher there, and I'm so excited to introduce all of you to my friend Leo Chang. Leo is a designer for Nike, so I'm going to let him talk a tiny bit about his experience with Nike, and we'll get into a little bit about the kinds of things that he does for his work. So welcome, Leo.
Yeah, I've been at Nike almost since I graduated from RISD. I've been here over 19 years now. It's kind of crazy. My dream of being at Nike started actually when I was in like 8th grade or something like that. But I think my parents having immigrated here, like we had no idea. I had no idea where Nike was. It was always just like this place. Maybe it was in New York. I thought it was in New York or LA or something, some big city because it was a big company, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to achieve that dream, so I just kept doing what I did, which was I drew a lot. I did a lot of painting, illustration. I loved comic books when I was in high school.
Awesome.
I loved woodworking even too. So I just kept doing that, and through my art teacher in high school, he was a good friend of mine later on, and he just kind of guided me in the right way. And then just talking to other students too, I was like, hey, you can go to art school. I'm like, what? There's art school? I didn't know there was art school for college. And so they introduced me to like RISD, and that's kind of how I started, the application process to art schools, and I got in, and they're like, RISD's the best, go there. I'm like, okay, cool.
Okay,
Try that.
I've just
Try that.
decided
I'll
I'm
try
just gonna
getting
go.
there, luckily I got in, but I didn't really, think anything of my dream of being at Nike until I got there. And after freshman year, we went through all the foundation classes, which was awesome. We went through everything from charcoal drawing to cardboard. RISD loves cardboard.
Yes,
Building
it's
things out
true.
of cardboard, to uh, all sorts of weird stuff that we were doing there. But it wasn't until the majors all started presenting their what they did that I was like, where do I fit in? Because I loved illustration, I loved painting, I loved graphic arts with computers. I loved working with 3D. I loved everything about art, really. And I was like, I didn't want to be boxed into one major that felt very specific. And it wasn't until ID, industrial design, popped up and they were showing, cool drawings, cool models, cool thinking, cool whatever. And then all of a sudden there was a shoe. And I was like, that's where I'm gonna go. And so I got into ID, and ever since after the whatever sophomore year,
Mhm.
you can apply for internships and stuff. So that's what I did. I just kept applying for internships to Nike, and I didn't get in that first year. So that's a good lesson learned there. Just because you don't get in the first time, you got to
Yes.
try again, right?
I
And
love that. I love that was your dream and that's what you do now, but it didn't always go perfectly along the
yeah, it
way.
wasn't smooth sailing for sure. It wasn't handed to me at all. I had to go find it. I had to go kind of work hard to get it. So I actually interned at Hasbro that
Okay.
summer, and I
Yeah.
didn't really care about toys, honestly. But I learned so much, and it was really fun. And it took my skills to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And then I feel like I was ready to like apply again to Nike. So after my junior year, I applied again, and I got it. It was the summer of 2000. It was amazing. I went out to Portland, Oregon, or Beaverton, Oregon, actually. And it that internship just exceeded everything I dreamt of Nike being. It was incredible. So I had such a high bar for where Nike was, and it just went up here,
Love that.
So
I love
after
that.
graduating, I just kind of made it my mission, and I started in running, doing running shoes, and I did that for about 5 years, 5.5 or so. Then the opportunity came up to work in basketball. So basketball and running were my two favorite types of, I guess, sneakers, and also sports that I liked watching or participating in. And so I was like, yeah, when the opportunity came up to be in basketball, I was like, I got to take it. I really loved running. I could have kept going on with it forever, but I was like, I got to take this opportunity. So that was cool because there was a player coming up out of Texas called Kevin Durant. Actually, didn't really follow college basketball that much because we didn't really have college basketball.
Sure,
So I was
sure.
more
In
of an
art
NBA
school,
guy.
right.
In art school, yeah. So for me, I was more of an NBA guy. I loved it, like Allen Iverson growing up in Philadelphia. And so I didn't really know Kevin Durant too much, but everyone was like, "Oh, he's the next big one," after LeBron and all that. So, and they're like, "You have the opportunity to design his signature shoes." I'm like, "Oh yes, we got to do this." So it's every shoe designer's dream, I feel like, to design the Air Jordan or like
Yes.
the thing with the athlete. So I jumped on that opportunity, and I was in basketball for about 12 and a half years, and I did a whole ton of shoes in that 12-year span. But I guess what I'm most known for is probably my KD shoes that I worked on there. So my time in basketball was great. I worked with just about every one of our signature athletes at some point or some level or another whatever. So like Kobe was incredible to work with. LeBron was also really fun to work with. Kyrie was amazing. So all these players were just a dream, just my dream come true to kind of experience. Um, my time in basketball. So yeah, that was really fun because for me, like I love the honesty of working with the athlete. To work with each of them, they're all so different. They all bring something different to the table um, that you get inspired by.
Well,
So
and
it's
that's interesting to me too, that you started out like interested in shoes, but then when you actually started doing the work of designing shoes, it became about like, how can I make a shoe for this particular person? Like
yeah,
that's a new element that's coming into your
because
work.
just like with art or anything else you do, if you kind of get like you can kind of get lost in your own thoughts or like go down a weird rabbit hole of
Mhm.
like a thought, and then it could steer completely off track or maybe find its way back. But when you have some guardrails of um, the athlete's voice and the things they say and tell you, like it helps you kind of stay on track a little bit.
So, okay, so I want you to kind of think of yourself like when you were in elementary school, like before you knew about what it took to go to Nike and before you knew all of that, like what's one thing that you wish you could tell yourself, like something that you could spend time working on or some kind of art making that if you were to work on it as a young person, it would help you end up in a career at Nike or even any kind of designing career, even if you were designing something like everyday objects or clothing or anything.
Yeah, I think my biggest I guess I was kind of doing it earlier on, but I think maybe doing more of it is connecting more with people that can show you different perspectives on different styles of art, different mediums of art, and trying that earlier in your life. I did that at RISD, but I wish I probably did that earlier. I did some of that in high school, but there was limitations. We basically had like one art course. And I just kept taking it over and over again because I knew the art teacher so well that he could push me, more one on one to like do more. And so, but I took woodworking, photography, and that was cool. But once I got to RISD, I was like in heaven because I took pastel drawing class. I took a textile class, a machine knitting class, which was super fun, which now like directly applies to my work because
Awesome.
we have at Nike like a technology called Flyknit, which is you knit the shoe, the upper, the shoe is all knitted. And when I was at RISD to take that machine knitting class, I was trying to machine knit a shoe, so like it all comes full circle. I did printmaking too at RISD, and
Nice.
so we screen print a ton on shoes. Um, so like all logos and everything, a lot of them were printed, so I kind of know how a lot of that worked before I got to Nike. And I think my biggest, I guess, advice to myself if I were younger was just to try more, experiment more, and don't. I was so obsessed with like super realistic, getting super technical and tight and realistic drawings, which has helped me. But what I loved about RISD was that there's areas for that, and then there's other areas where like loosen up, just like make it abstract, make it
Yes.
fun and just expressive and all that, and don't worry about perfection. And so I wish I learned that earlier too, and was able to have that expressive side of art earlier, you know.
And I'll say too that one thing I've noticed from being an art teacher, and I think I was this way too when I was younger, is that we all, if you're interested in art when you're a young person, usually like there's one type of art that you get really good at because you just do it all the time. And then it's really hard to do something that's different from that because it doesn't
Mhm.
feel as comfortable. So for
Yeah,
me, like I've always been a drawer and a painter. So anytime I did like any sculpture or anything like that, it pushes me outside of what I'm
yeah,
good at. So that could be a little bit uncomfortable. But what I hear you saying is that all those times that you did different types of media, it actually helped that thing that you were really good at. Like it made
totally.
your drawing better and it made your shoe designing stronger because it pushed you into a place that was less comfortable.
Yeah. And the earlier you do it, the more comfortable you are with the uncomfortable, right? And so
Yes, I love that.
I think that's where you like if you all you do is draw and all of a sudden you're expected to build something in clay, you're like, I don't know what to do. um,
Right.
well, the earlier you start messing around with that clay and the more you do messing around with that clay, like you're going to get better and better, more and more comfortable with it. And so what I love is what I see is like the more you have these different mediums, and your experiences with these different mediums, you're going to be able to think about your idea and your art that you want to do, and being able to tap into, okay, like this is best expressed in this medium, and then I can use this to like show this idea or whatever, this emotion, this whatever. You're not limited to just hand drawing. So yeah, just trying and experimenting all these different mediums, as many as you can, the
Love
better.
that.
That's one thing I think I've told a lot of younger designers that want to be shoe designers is, um, especially if they're not in college yet or they're in high school, whatever. I'm like, don't think about shoes that much, you know. Like go learn about something else. Go draw a tree outside. Go draw your best friend sitting in a chair. That's my thing. I was like, don't get locked into shoes right away. And in fact, many of the most successful designers at Nike didn't study shoes growing up. You know, like they did architecture, they were graphic designers, they were illustrators, they were whatever. Um, but they were able to like use those other knowledge, like experiences and knowledge, and see shoe design in a different way because inspiration comes from all places, you know.
I love that. Okay, I have one more question that I thought of,
Okay.
and I think this is a really big one because a lot of my students, when they're working, they feel like if they made a mistake, then they have to like start completely over, or they feel it makes them have like a really sad, like negative feeling if they made a
Yeah.
mistake. Can you talk a little bit about like, because one, I think the biggest message I'm always trying to tell them is that even like famous professional artists still make mistakes all the time. So can you talk a little bit about the role of mistakes in your work, just
Yeah.
to humor me?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you innovate at Nike, I guess mistakes and failures are bound to happen, you know. And when you're pushing something to the limits, some failure is going to happen, right? And so there's a bit of that that you have to accept, and it's learning from it that is the key.
Leo, thank
Mhm.
you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. I think this is going to mean so much to my students.
Great. I hope they enjoy it. I didn't bore them too much.
I doubt it.